Good evening everybody, welcome back to my channel. I hope you're all doing well. In today's video, we're going to carry on exploring the world of hytale and be reading some more Reddit stories as well, and be giving my opinion on those and what I think of the situations, and inviting you to do the same in the comments. Now today, we're going to explore more of the world here in hytale. Specifically, I want to explore sort of the underground and the caves, so going to start off with a bit of mining and see what kinds of gems and minerals and things that we can find under there. So I'm hoping it will be an interesting video, again, in this really, really beautiful game. So hopefully it's a relaxing one. Let's get straight into it. For our first story, I, 26 female, missed an important funeral, and now I think my 5-year-old relationship with my partner, 28 male, might be over. Before everything happened between us, we were solid, and I thought this guy was my forever. We've lived together for the past 3 years, and I always loved him and the way we both supported and helped each other. He used to say we were family, and we would always look out for each other. This was my final year in university. In March this year, the final copy of my printed research project was due, a culmination of the past 7 years of my education. Unfortunately, during this time, my partner's grandmother passed away. This woman basically raised him when both his parents couldn't deal and they were incredibly close. In our final years, she'd got dementia but would always remember him and their little inside jokes. He loved her probably more than anyone else in the world. Over those few weeks after she passed away, I tried to spend a lot of time with him. I took him to the archdiocese and we lit candles and walked through the gardens and talked about his grandmother. His friends came up for a visit that weekend, and I spent the whole weekend with them trying to make him happy, even though I should have been working on finishing my research project. I took care of him all that week, letting him rest and mourn. Unfortunately, his boss is a huge prick, and it was a real struggle for him to get any time off properly to rest and take care of himself. His grandmother's funeral was scheduled to be 4 days before my research project hand-in date. The problem was I still needed to get everything printed and do my final editing, and the funeral was on the other side of the country. This was a 200-page research project. I worked my ass off to get everything together beforehand so that I could go with him. In the end, I didn't have the time, and the reality was that I was editing and adding to the project, up until 2 days before my hand-in. I did Skype with him in the mornings and evenings so we could talk about how he was doing. After the funeral, he returned home and was incredibly sad. After my hand-in, I tried to talk to him about it. He showed me some pictures, and I read the eulogy that his sister had read at the funeral. I cried a bit after reading the eulogy, and that's when my boyfriend got angry. He said that I didn't have a right to cry or be upset because it was his grandmother and because I had chosen to forego the funeral. Things have gone downhill since then. It's been 2 months. Top of my research project, I also had my regular work to finish over the past 2 months, so it's just been a very busy time in my life. My boyfriend's been through a similar experience the year before where he had a busy time, and I helped and supported him through his work. He tried to help me and support me through mine, but the entire time he was cold and distant. And at one point he even admitted to me that he didn't want to help me and he couldn't be bothered. This all came to a head recently when I confronted him about how he's been distant and the way he's been treating me, i.e. ignoring me all day, being rude, distant, and sometimes nasty to me. He basically said he can't forgive me for missing his grandmother's funeral and don't think he'll ever be able to. At this point, I will admit I lost it. I was put in a situation where I had to choose between my relationship and my education, and it's only in hindsight that I see it. I was so overwhelmed and upset that I hit my head against the wall hard and screamed, but only because I've never been in so much emotional pain in my life. I didn't know how to handle it, and I admit I handled it poorly. Since then, things have not gotten better. We tried to talk about it calmly, but a few days ago he lost it and went on this rant about how terrible his life is and how hurt he is. There's a lot more going on with his family than I knew about. I never knew about all these things, but I've suggested to him that he try therapy, but he said he's not up for it. We talked about a solution, and he thinks I need to go back to my home country by myself for a few weeks and be with my family, and to leave him alone for that time so that he can think and mourn alone. He also said that he's thinking about moving out of our flat at the end of the summer to go to live with some friends, but he did say that he wants us to stay together. I think at this point that the relationship might be over. I don't know how to show him I'm sorry that I missed the funeral, but that there was no other option for me. I love this guy so much, but if this is how our relationship is going to be, I don't think I could do it. I need perspective on this issue, maybe some advice on how to apologize properly. And if not, maybe some advice on how to end a long-term relationship. Okay, now this is a really difficult situation because obviously the writer's significant other is going through a really horrible loss and he's grieving, he's going through significant turmoil. But I do think it's quite unrealistic to expect, especially given the travel involved, for the writer to have been able to drop everything and go, given that it was the culmination of 7 years of education. It was a really important time for the writer. I do think it's a shame, obviously, that the writer couldn't have made it work, but if the timing's fallen that way, that's sort of outside of anyone's control, and that's a difficult thing for anyone to have made work. I think it's quite a difficult situation, but I would hope that the writer's significant other, as he kind of moves through his grief, will potentially be able to see things from a different perspective and will be able to sort of understand things from her perspective and understand how important this specific deadline was in the context of her wider education. Let me know what you think in the comments. I think this is a pretty divisive one. Who do you think's in the right and who do you think is in the wrong? And do you think this is a big enough situation to end a relationship over? Let me know what you think in the comments, because I think I'm kind of on the fence about this one. I'm not sure. Okay, on to our next story. I reported my sexist team to HR, and now they're doing a much bigger investigation than I wanted. Let's see where this goes. I work with about 10 men, and I'm the only woman on my team. Over the course of 2.5 months, I've accumulated some experiences of sexism. A lot of it has been jokes or comments that are generally inappropriate or sexual in nature, and other times it's just difference in treatment that I think has to be because I'm a woman. My feelings of discontentment have been getting greater and greater these past couple of months, and it came to a breaking point last Friday. I felt unwelcome and belittled. I ended up having to leave my desk for 30 minutes and cry in the bathroom. I felt like I either needed to leave this job because I wasn't respected, or that I needed to do something about the feeling. I didn't feel like having a personal conversation with some of the guys was an appropriate course of action because I didn't feel like I'd be taken seriously by them. Instead, I set up a meeting on Monday with someone who works for my company who is a representative between us and the company we work for, as we work for contractors for a larger company. I came to that meeting prepared with notes on my phone about all of the examples of sexism that I've experienced. The representative was super responsive to my complaints, which I was surprised by, but I felt optimistic about it. Afterwards, the representative asked me to send him an email with a list of all the situations and examples that I'd mentioned. I compiled all of this and wrote an email. We then met up again a few days later, when he said that he'd spoken with his manager and that this had been escalated to HR within the contracting company and that they would be conducting a formal investigation. He reiterated that they would like to protect me, and to do that they would need me to send another email with every possible description of each situation that I had previously listed, with further details like who was around, who might have witnessed it, when and where it was, and what I had replied to comments and behaviour. The representative said they would need to speak with every person on the team, starting with the people who I didn't list as making any harassing remarks or behaviours, but them as witnesses to corroborate my claims. I immediately felt uneasy about this. Not only is there 100% transparency about these claims coming from me, but everyone in the office is going to become aware of every situation I listed. And I'd listed situations with people that I'm actually friends with too. The representative said that they need to conduct a formal investigation so that if anything further happens in the future, they can take appropriate action, which may mean termination from assignment. I've become distraught imagining how many people are going to react knowing their job security is now up for debate, and how I'm even going to be able to function in this work environment where people are going to treat me differently following the investigation. I told the representative that it had taken a lot for me to even approach him about the issue, and I feel that I'm going to be pushed into a corner by people, either being bitter or overly sensitive about interacting with me, and that this in turn is going to affect how I function in my workspace. I don't feel unsafe, and I do enjoy my office, but the inequality was getting to me. I asked if we could do a general office training or education about the company's sexual harassment policy instead of a formal investigation, because frankly we should already be doing education like that. And I also don't think that the investigation would help reiterate to people that behaviour needs to change. I'm so nervous that I'll be further pushed out of my office space and ultimately forced to leave because of the situation. I was told that the representatives higher up said an investigation is how we must proceed, and that I need to provide the descriptions that they've asked for. I feel like my needs of a comfortable workspace are being jeopardised, while they're saying that they're doing things to protect me is actually doing the opposite. I'm not sure if my concerns are being portrayed properly, and I'm really uncomfortable with this. Am I just being spineless and need to follow out with this investigation and hope for the best? Do I have any kind of free course? What if I don't provide them with any more details to aid in the investigation? This is a really, really difficult situation. Now, clearly, it's a positive on the face of it that the representative and the kind of higher-ups are taking the instances that you've described really seriously. But I can completely understand, especially it being a small team where the writer is the only woman, how obviously when an investigation comes to light, it's going to be clear who's made the report, right? Like, it's not like there's a huge company and it can be done anonymously. I think it's a little bit unfair that the sort of like representative people haven't actually asked the writer what they want to see happen and what action they would like to be taken about this, because I can completely understand why that would make you uncomfortable. And at the end of the day, you can't be sure that the people being investigated are going to react in a positive way and say, oh, okay, I do actually need to change my behaviour. It's actually going to become more likely that they basically respond badly to it, and the writer of the post becomes sort of even more ostracized in the workplace. It's a very awkward situation. I think it's such a shame that the writers had the bravery essentially to report what's happening, and it's kind of becoming something much bigger than they intended. Let me know what you think in the comments of what she should do and how you would feel in this situation, but I think it's very difficult one, and I kind of empathize really. Okay. Let's go on to our third story. Am I the asshole for stopping picking up lunch since my manager tried to force me to go to a restaurant that I will not support? I currently work in an office of 14 people. Since I mainly work with clients in a different time zone, I come to the office a bit later than everyone else. Everyone else's office hours are 7:30 a.m. to 4:30 p.m, whereas I'm in from 12 to 9. Because of that, I started to pick up lunch for some of my co-workers on the way to work. What had started off as a nice thing for one or two people turned into most of the office giving me their orders. I had 3 rules: only one restaurant a day and all orders had to come from that location. There were 2 restaurants that I would not go to out of moral principles. These were my forbidden restaurants, and an order to them would not be accepted. And then the 3rd rule was that everyone's orders were rounded up to the nearest dollar, and then $1 added. So if your order was $7.28, they would pay me $9 to pick it up, which is still way cheaper than any other service out there. Cash on lunch delivery or prepaid for the week was accepted. For the most part, I had absolutely no trouble with these rules, except for one co-worker and the vice president. They both would always want me to go to one of the restaurants that I forbade. Every week I would explain that I do not buy from that company, and every week they would try and get me to go there. Now, this drama started on Friday. After I came in and gave everyone their orders, I was called into the office with the vice president and told that I'm bullying and excluding certain co-workers from my lunch club and must include him in it by going to the forbidden restaurant. I told him I would solve the problem, but explained that Saturday's orders were already in and that Monday is when the change would happen. Well, on Saturday, after I dropped off all the orders, I cancelled the lunch club in a company-wide email, stating the facts that I'm being forced to add a forbidden restaurant to my pickups by the vice president, and that under my moral and religious fibre I cannot support this restaurant. So therefore, effective immediately, the lunch club is disbanded, and Monday everyone is on their own with their lunch orders. I will refund any money that is left for the orders that were prepaid. Well, half the office supported my decision and the other half is annoyed at me for stopping the service. It was a huge time saver for everyone, and pretty cheap since I picked up the orders on my way to work anyway. I never really made a lot of money off of this, at best enough to cover my daily lunch. Am I the asshole? Now, I absolutely do not think that you are. I think it's perfectly fine when you're already doing everyone a massive favor and saving them time and money to have, you know, a really small rule of, I don't go to these places for whatever reason. And they haven't named what the restaurants are, but they say it's for like a moral and religious reason. So I think that is perfectly valid. And like, let's not get it out of context. Let's be clear that this was a favor that the writer was doing to her colleagues or his colleagues out of goodwill from the start, right? And for the boss to kind of come in and try to use his clout and his hierarchy in the company of, oh, I like this restaurant and therefore you must go get it for me, right? Like, it's pretty ridiculous. That boss is still welcome to go to that restaurant. He'll just have to go pick it up himself or place an order on like DoorDash or another platform as usual, right? And pay £1 or £2 more for delivery than this person was initially charging. So it's pretty ridiculous. I think it's honestly a shame that it ended up coming to the writer having to cancel this lunch club, because obviously it was helping out a lot of people as a massive time saver, right, for a lot of people. And it was probably a good sort of social thing for the workplace as well. But yeah, the writer is absolutely not in the wrong here. It clearly comes down to that boss, unfortunately, ruining a good thing that they had going in the company. And I really hope that that boss reconsiders at some point, or, I don't know, leaves the company or something, and this can start back up, because it sounds like a great idea, honestly. Sounds like a real shame that it got forced to close. Yeah, let me know what you think in the comments, but I think this one's pretty clear-cut, unlike the previous two. Okay. And our next story. Am I the asshole for yelling at my girlfriend due to her camera roll? I, 23 male, and my girlfriend, 24 female, have been together for 4 months now. She's great. She's beautiful, crazy, intelligent, and has a great personality. She's genuinely my dream girl, except for one issue, which is her camera roll. For background, she dated a guy for 4 years, through high school and the first half of college. She broke up with him last year and has dated other people since then before dating me. She never really talks about her ex, unless telling a past story about her friend group, which he was part of until he left her. According to her, the reason why they broke up is that she realised they were on 2 different levels of maturity. She's intelligent, she's well known around campus, adored by professors, and goes to a great university. She also got life-threateningly sick, and while he was worried for her, she knew he wouldn't be responsible enough to take care of her in the future. They ended on good terms but don't talk anymore because he is kind of an introverted guy, according to her. The part I get upset about is that every time she opens her camera roll to show me past pictures or past photos and videos, she scrolls past photos and videos of him and her. I've always brought this up to her and she laughs and says it's because she's too lazy to go through 30,000 photos. And to be fair, it doesn't look like she's deleted any pictures since 2015. These photos and videos of him and her aren't romantic, they're just high school shenanigans and often involve other friends, but I still can't help but feel jealous. Today she was showing me a photo of her friends in 2018, telling me a funny story, and he's in the photo. I said, "You have a lot of pictures with him," in an annoyed tone. And she said, "Well, yeah, he grew up with me and my friends. We were kids together. It's a look back into my childhood." I told her I didn't like those pictures, and she offered to remove them and put them on a drive. I told her that that wasn't enough. She told me that they were precious memories she shared with her friends, including him, and that she wasn't going to delete them just because they had been in a couple for a time. I kind of raised my voice and told her she should go back to him if the memories were that precious. She got up and said, "I don't want to go back to him, but I also don't want to be with someone who's emotionally insecure. I have enough to deal with." And then she left. I've debated texting her and apologising. What should I do? Yeah, I absolutely think that the writer is in the wrong. Definitely in the wrong. Like, it's not like the girls got super romantic pictures. It's not like they're her lock screen or they're liked in her camera roll or she's bringing them up and looking at them all the time or they're framed in her room or anything. It's literally just her having childhood, like, group pictures and memories, not deleted. And as he said, she hasn't deleted any pictures since 2015. So, yeah, I think it's pretty ridiculous to expect her, first of all, to spend time going through deleting every single picture. But also, if he's that entwined in her friendship group, and obviously they were together for a long time, it's just awful to think that she should have to delete, like, every single picture of them, including the ones with all their friends from high school and from college, and from sort of these key, like, years of youth. And I actually think that the writer's girlfriend has been pretty lenient and actually pretty kind in saying, like, yeah, I can remove them from my phone and put them in a drive, but at the end of the day, they're my memories from youth and I don't want to lose them entirely. And for that sort of compromise not to even be enough for the writer of this thing, I think, honestly, he is insecure and he is maybe a bit emotionally unintelligent, like, especially when it doesn't seem like there's any other reason for him to feel jealous of her ex at this point. So, yeah, I think the writer's in the wrong. Let me know what you think. Like, do you think this is a deal breaker? But I think it's pretty unfair to ask her to delete childhood pictures, especially group photos. Like, yeah, pretty crazy. Let me know what you think in the comments. Do you agree with me or am I in the wrong maybe? Okay, so our final story for today, and I think this one's going to be pretty divisive, so let's see how it goes. Am I the asshole for skipping my own surprise birthday party once I found out that it wasn't really for me? I've never been big on birthdays. Don't get me wrong, I don't hate them. I just prefer something low-key, like dinner with close friends, watching a film, or something small. Everyone close to me knows this, especially my sister. My sister, though, loves big gestures and believes every birthday or achievement needs balloons and a party theme and much, much more. 2 weeks before my birthday, my sister started acting strange. She kept asking me if I'd be free on that Saturday, and acted weird when I asked why. I suspected that she was up to something, so I told her again and again that I really didn't want a big party. She just laughed and said I was being no fun like usual. A couple of nights ago, the night before our birthday, one of our mutual friends let it slip about there being a party. She mentioned what she was planning to wear. Anyway, it turns out that my whole family was invited and that it was our parents' house. Some co-workers were also invited, but here's the kicker, so was my ex. For a little context, my ex and I broke up around 2 months ago. The relationship had ended pretty badly, and I'd made it pretty clear to everyone in my life that we were no contact. My sister knows this, however she's told me multiple times that I should just get over the whole situation because my ex is a nice guy and that he's been a part of all of our lives for years. The first thing I did when I found out about all of this was call my sister demanding answers, and she didn't even deny it. She just said that the party was an opportunity for me and my ex to finally talk it all out. She admitted that she hadn't just thrown this party for my birthday, but also so that I and everyone else could see my ex again and that we could fix things between us. She literally said to me that I'd thank her down the line. I went mad and I said to her that she had no right, that I would have been ambushed into the situation on my own birthday, and that this was all after I'd specifically said that I didn't want a party and that my ex and I were no contact. She just said that I was being dramatic and ungrateful and that she planned this whole thing because I wouldn't find anyone better and that it was a good gift. She said that everyone had planned gifts for me and travels and everyone was excited. Yesterday, on my birthday, I completely powered off my phone and didn't let anyone know other than my best friend. So we went out for lunch and then went on a long walk together, and it ended up being a great, if low-key, day. When I finally went home and turned my phone on, it was mental. My sister was fuming, people were disappointed, and people even said that I embarrassed my sister. My sister's now basically saying that I ruined the whole party and made it all about myself, even though it was literally my birthday. She says that she did things out of a good place in her heart and that I should at least apologize for not showing up and not letting people know. So am I in the wrong? No, I think you're absolutely not in the wrong. Obviously your sister's probably gone about this in a good intentioned way, right? Like, the writer's sister loves big gestures and loves all these things, and also genuinely thinks that the writer's ex is good for them and a good person to have in their lives, right? But that's still not an excuse for hijacking someone's birthday and forcing them into a situation that they don't know that they're going to be in and is going to be an uncomfortable one, right? Like, the party itself might have been one thing, but inviting the ex and then not wanting him to know is pretty horrible. So I definitely don't think the writer is in the wrong for how they went about it. But I do think it's a difficult situation. It's one of those where you can tell that both sides are well-intentioned. So it's like a little bit more difficult to know what you would do in the situation, especially since they're sisters. So you obviously don't want it to create like a huge, distance between them and kind of become a huge family argument. However, I do think it's absolutely fair enough that the writer went out and made their birthday exactly what they wanted, right? And had the day for themselves. Let me know, what would you do in the comments if this was your sister and she did this to you? It's very interesting to know. Okay, so that concludes today's video. That was our last story. I think we've had an interesting mix of stories today, so let me know which ones you found the most crazy. I've also really enjoyed the gameplay today. Literally every time I play this game, I kind of fall more and more in love with it. I just think it's so relaxing and like beautiful and just a chilled game for the evenings. So yeah, I hope you're feeling the same. And I will see you in the next video. Take care, everybody. Bye-bye.